welcome to our podcast.
Dope. Mac and Smitty show, just like
we
prophesied 13 years ago.
What's up, guys? Here we go. Episode 4 of Mac and Smitty. We're talking to Coach David Feeley over at Duke, one of our absolute favorites. Coach Feeley has really brought both Ike and I in kind of as one of his own, man. It's been a great relationship with him, not just with the iron, but everything else in life and food, as you guys will see. This conversation is so much fun. We love Coach Feeley. He is always so generous with his time and allowing Ike and I to train in there. I think that's the most we've ever trained somewhere is at Duke, and he's just an awesome guy. His story, the way his players love him. I mean, we talk about it a little bit here about him not going to Texas A&M with Coach Elko. It was a big deal. That sent some shockwaves kind of across the country here, and I think it did at Duke too. Those guys seeing and understanding that, you know, he kind of chose them and he chose Duke, and that's really, really rare. We talk about that and so much more. You guys are going to love this episode. Let's get right to it. Coach Feeley, what's up, brother? Great to see you. I feel like just a loser, to be honest. I'm the only one not rocking that beautiful Duke blue. I am moving right now, so I have an excuse, but I know there's no excuses. Coach, great to see you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. We'll let the blue shirt slide for just this one time.
And I do have to tell the people, Ike, he has given me 1,000 shirts. I have them. I have a million. Between him and Pick, I have plenty of Duke stuff, and I am honestly embarrassed. But anyway, let's jump into it, Coach, because it's summertime. We're doing a Summer of Strength kind of mini series here, and we're going through the ACC and talking to all the best, and you're one of our absolute favorite, everything that you guys do. So summer right now, what kind of things do you guys have going on at Duke?
We are hot and heavy. We are absolutely in the thick of it. We've got enough track workouts and running and as heavy a weight as you can fathom to be lifted. And you know, our guys, they do a variety of command oriented drills. It's not really coach driven. We make it player driven, and I think our guys eat that up. They really, really do. They break up every leadership activity into like 3 parts. So it's very easily remembered on how to cue the other guys up. They're really coaching each other. And I think it's very beneficial to us.
How long has it taken you to develop that system as far as having the players coach each other versus everything being coach oriented and coach led?
I had seen something like that when I was at South Florida as an intern in 2005, 2006 under gentleman Ron McKeefrey. And I thought it was really, really cool, and expanded it over when I took over baseball at FIU many, many moons ago, and then built it up over the years. But these guys have taken it to a whole different level. It's a sight to see.
And this is a kind of a fun time for them, right? Because I mean, summer is kind of as you just laid out. I mean, we're running and we're lifting, and that's all we care about. And there's some football sprinkled in. Some things have changed over the years, but this is where you're developing men. Outside of, I guess, just leaning on those guys to push each other, are there different leadership things or drills or skills, just different things that you guys are doing to really overemphasize that leadership piece right now?
Yeah, like the biggest part is what we do outside of the building. There are a ton of group chats here. It's kind of a funny thing. Like, guys kind of don't leave campus without everybody knowing where they're going. And that's not from the coaches. That's player to player. They talk about that quite a bit. But the amount of times that they go out and have dinner with each other or go to, like, you know, fun activities, it's 2 or 3 times a week per group. And in each position group goes out of their way to hang out with a different position group on the other side of the ball, guys that they would not normally see. They get that going, and then we continue our brunch bells activity every Saturday, which is just a layup for really good fellowship.
I think that's huge, man. I mean, obviously I don't have any personal football experience, but you kind of already know that, you know, offense hangs with offense, or even just like those specific position groups. So it's very cool to hear that those guys are going out of their way to hang out with other people on the opposite side of the ball, even though they're all still on the same team. But, you know, you have a different
There's
job.
Clicks. That's a real thing. There's clicks. I understand.
You got a different job at the end of the day, but it's still nice to to hear that camaraderie is huge with this team.
Coach, when you look at these different things, and we're talking about summer, we're talking about building these type of men, how does it really differ from a mindset for you? Because practicing during the season and when you're getting ready for a game is, quite different than right now when there is such an emphasis. Has that been trial and error over your career and you feel really good about kind of where you are? Or what does the mind shift change as summer goes on right now?
Well, I'll say this about the summer. It's that this is the time to not only get things right, but do them over so that you can't get them wrong. And you're laying the foundation for the football coaches. Like it's our job to, pretty much pass off the product to them. And, what our guys do, like, it's a coach's dream when a drill is not done right or when a lift is not executed well. And we'll put guys on the spot to give an example or a demo multiple times throughout a workout. You'll have our guys, hey, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Hey, he looked good doing this, and they'll give a little, and they they make it a little spicy, and they'll give the old let it cook, baby. They give one of them things. But we put them in a position where they can critique each other, and I think that's the most powerful thing because they know they have to get it right. They know how to get it right. And if something gets messed up or the drill doesn't go exactly the way it should, they actually have the support from their teammates to correct it, and they have the self-awareness to correct it. Nobody gets down on each other here because we know, nobody's trying to mess anything up. If you can understand what went wrong, then you can, if you know what happened, you can explain it, you can redo it. And that's what gets everybody going. And I think that's like a big deal for us here in moving forward and having guys being successful in the fall. Because if that's a trained behavior, that's only going to apply itself later on into camp and then in the season.
How, if you have a freshman incoming and this is their first time obviously playing college football, maybe they're coming from somewhere where they're not used to being put on the spot like that. And like you said, nobody's getting down on one another, but you're also not going to shy away from calling somebody out, putting them on the spot. How do these younger guys respond to that kind of spotlight and attention?
It's a shock.
Yeah,
it really is. There's no getting out of it. We'll just be there until
ain't no hiding. There's nowhere to hide. Nowhere to hide.
Yeah, like you have to do your job in front of millions of people on TV every weekend. They can handle the weight room here at Duke. They just got to figure it out.
Exactly.
I love that so much. And it's just, you kind of we're not hitting anybody, but you beat it out of them, right? It's like, this is what we do. This is what we do. And this is how we work. And if you don't want to be here, guess what? There's a fun little transfer portal. Get out, see you later. Cause we do things a difficult way here. Coach, let's make this about you, which I know you hate. And we're going to do that throughout this time here, just because I love the way you go about your job. I love the way you go about your business. You care about these players. And it was something where, obviously I love the weight room and I'm a strength guy and we had a connection early on, but it was really the second and third time when I keep talking to guys and all they want to give credit to is Coach Feeley and the way that he does things and the way that he makes this happen. Where did that all come from? How did this all start? I mean, have you known for your whole life growing up you wanted to be in strength and conditioning? Kind of give us the origin here.
So my high school strength coach, Donovan Brown, he was the reason I wanted to be a high school strength and conditioning coach. That man, he was so tough on us. It was the best experience I ever could have gotten in my life. It really was. And I wanted to give that experience back to high school students. And then what had happened was I went off and got in the college ranks and worked my way up. And I just remember how much he invested in me and how he wouldn't let me slide on anything. And when you're in high school and you're a freshman, you're going to become what your mentors probably train you to be. And I just got so lucky that I just said to myself, you know what, I want to give this experience to somebody else. And, it was tough for me to understand it for a whole year, just in high school. And some of these guys, maybe they get it in high school. Maybe they don't. Maybe they come from a 2-parent home or a single parent home. Maybe they have a single dad or a single mom that's working a few jobs and they got to get coached up by their coaches on how to grow up. And, I really believe that college is the last stop before they become a man into the real world where they're really going to find out how much they got to fight every day for whatever occupation they choose or chooses them. So, I think that the more that you can show them the way on how to become successful, how to fail, how to get back up, how to be successful again, I think you're doing the ultimate service. I really do.
So, Coach, what you saying you wanted to, originally be a high school strength and conditioning coach. How was that transition once you got into college ranks, being like, I wanted this one thing at the, a lower level, kind of to give back that same experience you had, making that adjustment to being like, all right, well, now I'm in college. How do we transition from what we thought we wanted to where we currently are?
I think it's funny because with high school kids, they have their experiences in high school. They're a lot of times they're not forced to be in a weight room. It could be a little come and go as you please at some spots or whatnot. When I got to college, I saw that these guys had goals. They had a real agenda, and I'm like, wow, I want all that smoke. I want to be part of it. I want to help them do it. You want to stay as unknown as humanly possible as a strength coach, and that's fine. But man, if you can help them get to where they want to go, that's great. That drives me. I mean, I could jump out of bed 1,000,000 miles an hour every day to do that. It's awesome.
Come on, well, let's keep diving into it, like from a mentor and kind of your stops along the way. I mean, what kind of, I guess, things stood out or people that stood out that really kind of helped you be the strength coach that you are today?
Oh, man, so as a graduate assistant, John Greco was my boss at UNLV, and I was the only assistant as a GA for football, so I got all I could handle. And he taught me two things. That one, this is a people business. So, it doesn't matter what program you're really going to write. Like, some of it does matter, but if you don't get people to buy in, believe, and put their all into it, it ain't going to be worth the darn. And then the second one is that you're in a job interview every day. So, and you never know who's watching you. You never know who's looking at you. You never know, what player is going to be affected by you, whether you're having a bad day or a personal moment. Like, you are on the clock, you are on the job, like you are affecting lives the second you step out of your office. And that was so cool. That stuck with me. And I became an assistant at FIU, and Roderick Moore, who's now with the Steelers, he, as their sports science director, he ran the tightest room I had ever seen. Like, he ran that. It was a tight ship, man. Let me tell you what. Like, everybody knew what time it was when Coach Moore was in there. And I saw that. I was like, hot dang, this is great. This is what I like. This is what I want to do. Like, so I had two great mentors to work under, and then just kind of evolving from Ball State. And then I had gotten a taste of the SEC at South Carolina and seeing just a much bigger machine. And then from there going to Temple. By the time I got to Temple, I was like, you know what? I pretty much know what I want to do. I know how I want to do it. I know how hard I'm going to push for it. Because if, you find out what's important to you, and if you compromise it, you're dead. It's over. Like, you can't, there's no coming back from that. So whatever hill you're going to die on, you better dig your feet in firm, right? Or you're going to thrive on that hill, one or the other. And then from Temple going to Miami, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And then coming here to Duke, these kids I knew exactly what I wanted. I thought I had been like a developmental strength coach for a long time at the schools that I had been at, and I thought it was a good fit for what I was brought here for. But these kids at Duke, from all of their their leadership opportunities that we give them here, how they lead lifts, how they execute lifts, how they understand the mathematical plan as to how we're undulating percentages and whatnot. These guys have taken my thought process and my career to a whole different level of satisfaction. I got the best job in college football right now. I do.
When you were at FIU, I know you touched on it earlier that you were with baseball. Now, was that as an assistant, or were you in charge of the whole baseball program as well?
I was in charge of baseball.
Okay. And then at what point, like, I guess from that experience, knowing like, okay, well, this was cool, but did you always know you wanted to be with football? Just kind of, knowing what it entailed comparatively speaking to baseball?
Yeah, football was always the number one. And I understood that those jobs were really hard to get. Just the head job, right? And I was an assistant for football all the way through. Like, when I was with baseball, I said to myself, like, look, you're learning to be a head strength coach as a head of a team. You're learning how to communicate with coaches. What do they want? What do the players need? How to work with different personalities, and you're in charge. The buck will stop with you, and you don't have any assistants. So you're working out 35 guys, and you've got to make sure they're getting better and they're not getting hurt. Wow. Yeah. There you go. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, have fun with that. How about when you became the head guy? I mean, what kind of, because everything you just said, you're looking around and oh, we'll pass this up. No, there's no more up. It's to you. It's your decisions. It's the things that you're getting, kind of in order. It's your programming. It's your people that you've hired. What was kind of the biggest here I am moment when you became a head strength coach for football?
Oh, I remember like it was yesterday. I was at Ball State, I get to my desk, and I'm like, well, where's my computer? Do we have a roster?
Right.
Who's on the team?
Yeah.
And you were literally sitting there till 10 o'clock at night, just trying to get everything in order. And my number one task, and Coach Grieco had just said, look, whatever you're going to do, you have to rehearse it. You have to walk through it. You can't just be like, all right, this is the idea, we're going to run with it. You have to walk the steps in which the player is going to go through. I must have went through the workout 6 times that first night, how the first one, because you only get one shot to make a first impression. And every player that's going in there, they have to have a sense of belief that you're going to help them, or they're going to look at you like you're a clown, like you're wasting their time. And they've only got a few years to maximize this college experience. And then the rest of life happens. And they're going to college to win, not to just play or try.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And really, before we kind of dive into your thought process and the way you do things, and a lot of Olympic lifts and things of that nature, cleans and stuff. I know you love those. I can't do them anymore. I'm too old, but you still can, and it's still fun to watch every time we're in there. Yeah. Maybe you coach me up next time. We'll make it happen. I do want to dive in because you're talking about these different places, that you had been, and being in the ACC at Miami, then coming to Duke, and then you also had an opportunity to leave to go to Texas A&M, but you decided to stay. And for those that know you, and for those that are watching, that you worked with Manny Diaz at Miami, and people might think, oh, Manny brought him in. No, you were already committed to stay at Duke, and Duke committed to you, and then it happened that Coach Diaz was back being the head coach, and that marriage, who I think is perfect, is here again. But I want to dive into why you decided to stay at Duke, because externally, from people that don't know you, probably look at that and say, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you go to a place like that?
Yeah, what's funny is when Coach Diaz showed up, I kind of looked up and I said, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Isn't that fun though? Just quickly, isn't that fun to have those moments? I mean, it's pretty remarkable.
It was wild. It really was. It was a wild couple of weeks. And that was tough because Mike Elko, he did a lot for me, and he did a lot for my family. I love Mike. He was so great to us, and he treated me with such respect and backed up the strength program a ton. And that was a hard decision to make. It really, really was. And but the hard thing is like with a family and you're a coach, your kids, they signed up and they don't even know they signed up, and they have to move from school to school. And my kids had never started and finished a school. And it was literally, we didn't want it to stay as much as humanly possible. And I didn't quite know at the time that I actually had a job, and I was like at Duke, and I had an extra year on my contract. So we were literally talking as a family, and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to go. And, the kids are going to have to stay back. You got to finish the school. We got to make that work. And then, my daughter was, she wasn't happy with it. And then my son asked me like, Dad, when am I going to see you? I was like, well, once every couple of months. And he just kind of put his head in my lap and was upset. And I was like, that's it. I'm not going.
Right. Yeah.
Not like
I can't even imagine that. Yeah. No,
it was one of the worst, gut wrenching, and then just clear cut decisions I've ever had to make. And then lo and behold, Nina King, who is, her and President Price, they're like the heroes in this. This is before Coach Diaz entered the equation, was, hey, we're going to keep you at Duke, and we would like to keep you as the football strength coach. We don't know what that looks like, but we want you here. So
just for people watching, that is rare. That doesn't happen. The head coach brings whoever the heck he wants. Now, again, I think that would have worked out, but this is very unique situationally.
Yeah, they're like the two champions of the history of the Feeley family, as far as I'm concerned. You couldn't work for two better people than them, really. And then Coach Diaz shows up and he's like, "Hey, dude, want to stay?" Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, and to be honest with you, like, this would have been a hard place just to say goodbye to.
Yeah.
From what had transpired from the first, January 1 of 2022 into, these guys winning 17 games in 2 years. Like, there's a whole lot of critics that said that wasn't even close to happening, and it was a 4-year rebuild and whatnot. That just shows you, man, if you invest in kids, man, they got something special in them. You just got to get it out of them.
That's right.
And they want it. No matter how much, there might be some tough days and this and that, but they'll all thank you for it. As long as they know you care, like, it'll all work out. And And this job has been a blessing. It really has been.
But how much time passed from when Nina King said, "We want to keep you here. We don't know what that looks like," to when Coach Diaz walks in?
Wow.
To the second, if you could,
Yeah.
please.
Well, it was nice talking to you guys. No, I don't. Wait.
I'm sure it wasn't
think
that
it was
long,
about
but
a
it
week and a
probably
half.
felt like an eternity.
Let me tell you, yeah, it was crazy. It was, yeah. I want to say a week and a half to 2 weeks, somewhere in there.
Which is crazy. I mean, that's a long time. And it probably felt, like I said, even longer, which is absolutely bizarre. All right, let's dive into some more stuff here, because I think that's fascinating. And I'm so happy that it worked the way it did and how you guys are able to do it. Let's get into the nuts and bolts, man, of just your philosophies and why you really do the things you do, where, again, I'm sure it came from your mentors, but I mentioned the Olympic lifting. You know, you guys snatch, you power jerk, you do all these different things. When, why, how do you try to do that programming with those type of movements?
Well, I'll just say this, that you can only do in the weight room what your head coach believes in. And Coach Diaz is all about that. And I love that. I couldn't get any more support from anybody in the world besides him. Like he's the guy. Like he understands the value in it. But if you're going to build the biggest, most explosive athletes in the world, you've got to do Olympic lifts. All the track and field runners do it. The throwers do it. And obviously Olympic weightlifters. And that's really the communities. Those are the communities that drive everything. And then you say, well, they're not Olympians. They're football players. But when those guys run away with that ball and they ran track, boy, you know it.
That's right.
You know it right away.
That's right.
And I don't know, like I grew up in high school doing power cleans, doing clean pulls, doing push presses. And then in college, we would snatch, we would split jerk, we would power clean. So I never stopped. And then competed regionally in New Jersey on Team New Jersey. My coach was actually a 1980 Olympian, Bob Giordano. He's a great man. Awesome. So I always believed in it. And I knew that you can make any player more explosive. So I was like, all right, well, I've got that checked. Then how do you do that? All right, well, you prescribe a certain amount of reps. What system are you using? And I had learned the Russian undulation model from a coach named Johnny Parker. He was Coach Parcells' strength coach forever at the Giants and then at the Patriots. And meeting that man had changed my life because he actually showed me a definitive plan as to how to prescribe through waving, like some guys have high days and low days of running track or lifting weights. And it all comes back from the gentleman that he learned from to make things even weirder and cooler. So I had met Johnny Parker because of an athlete at Ball State, because his dad played for him at the Giants when they won a Super Bowl for Parcells in '86. Cool. Little did I know, back in 1983, Johnny Parker was working at Ole Miss. My strength coach, and I was 2 years old. I didn't know nothing. My strength coach, Donovan Brown, went to Ole Miss to clinic with him, and that's why my high school did power cleans and clean pulls and all that. That's where it all came from.
Wow, that's incredible.
So round two of like, all right, I'm listening. I get it. One of these people in my life. And then the running piece goes back to Roderick Moore, who's the director of sports science at the Steelers. How often to run guys, how to sprint them, how to condition them, what can they tolerate? And then the return to play model, because, the injuries happen in sports. They happen in football, soft tissue problems. You don't really, you don't want them, but they do happen. Or if you have a knee or whatever, how do you get guys back? How do you induce velocity? How do you induce power? How do you induce acceleration running? And then it was a gentleman named Rob Panarillo, who's a world-class physical therapist, had taught me all that. Him and a gentleman named Joel Roth, who was our PT at Temple. And they introduced me to high-speed running and what that means, and how Australian rugby, how they use that. They got the biggest bodies that are not football players. That's where all the research comes from. So learning all these, and then you have to make it work. You're serving a ton of masters in this equation in the summer of sprinting, agilities, conditioning, lifting. How do you do it all that you don't run your guys in the ground? And that was a little bit of trial and error for a few years. I think we've got a pretty good system of it now. I really do.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, Coach, obviously you're pulling from all your mentors and all these proven systems of success from obviously the weightlifters. And like you said, that was a good point with the Australian rugby's having a big body but not being football oriented. Clearly what they're doing is working. How much additional research do you typically do in your own time to try to improve these methods, or do you just kind of rinse and repeat? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, I think you have to be very aware of what's going on. But what I don't do, and what we don't do as a strength staff, is we're not going to implement something that's just really cool that we see on the internet. Like, that's not going to happen.
You're not scrolling on TikTok getting advice on how to run your program. What are you doing?
No, I'm going to get my own app called Swole Talk, and it's going to be
That a boy. I need that. Come on.
It's going to be legit information on there.
That's right.
But if it's not tried and true and there's not research behind it, we're not going to do it. And then we don't want it to paint the picture of, well, that's soft, or it's too science. You can make anything difficult. And the beauty of these guys here is their intent is so intense when they go to do something. They know exactly what they want to do. And if you say, I'm going to run from here to the light post, okay, they're going to go as hard as they possibly can. Some people may jog. These kids will not here. These guys, they're going to go.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that what are we looking to get out of each drill? What are we looking to get out of each phase of training? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. How about just freaky players, Coach? Guys that we keep mentioning this. You keep mentioning the intent and how good they are, how ready they are to put in the work. Guys that you've seen, and I probably have a couple off the top of my head here just covering these guys over the past couple of years, but is there a top 3 in your career? And if you could throw some numbers in, too, of things that they did, I would love that.
Back at FIU, we'll go all the way back to there. I had the honor of coaching T.Y. Hilton for 3 years, and he was every bit of a 4.28. I'm like, whoa, look at this guy.
Track speed, baby.
Can we get another one of these guys?
Please.
No, there isn't. And we knew how crazy fast he was because in 2009, we played Alabama, and he takes the kickoff back, and the guy that can't catch him is Julio Jones. It's insane.
My gosh. It's a lot of speed. That's a lot of speed.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we got that guy. He would certainly be one of them. Having Deebo Samuel over at South Carolina, he was special. He had quite the acceleration button. He really, really did. And I'll tell you what, being here, Graham Barton was pretty freaky.
He's just a beast. He's so strong. He's so strong. And, it's funny, too, guys that you're mentioning there, which I'm sure there's a ton, right, that were maybe walk-ons or maybe not the biggest, baddest dude that still worked really hard and had great numbers. But when you can have your best players be the hardest workers and the freakiest athletes, that's when you're winning a lot of football games and making magic, making some crazy things happen.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And one of the best stories I've ever seen of like a year can change your life is when Jaylen Phillips showed up at Miami, and he had been done with football. He weighed 225. He came in and I'm like, wait, this guy's a player? He plays D end? He looks like the lost end. Like It was so he was so skinny.
Not the lost end.
I was in disbelief, and Coach Diaz is like, just getting bigger, dude. You'll see. Yeah. Okay. So, and like he had redshirted, and he went from 225 to 265, and it was him. I'll never forget this because it was during COVID, so I had a coach from a serious distance, right? And I'm watching Jaylen at it was 265, and then Greg Rousseau running with him. They're both on the same roster at the time, and they're running 15.5-second 110s, and I'm like, oh man.
We got something here, boys. We got something.
We do. So, but what like Jaylen's day one to a year later, if that doesn't teach you that, intentful good people can do anything, golly, nothing will. Like he was the best.
Just got to stay focused and keep grinding. Coach, I don't want to end without touching on a couple weeks ago, your experience at Summer Strong. Mad that I couldn't attend. I went last year, and then I was like, I skipped the powerlifting meet last year. I'll do my powerlifting meet this year. And I saw your name on the roster, and I was like, come on. But anyway, how was it?
I'll tell you what, I need to go every year. That is a dynamite operation. Yeah. Bert Sorn, he runs a great show. It was so cool. And then you have the museum of weightlifting and all these old lifting artifacts. Like they have Jackson weights, which were before the York weights. And there's still rust on there that can probably tell stories with a side of hepatitis on there. It was so awesome. You just wanted to lift everything. It was so cool, and the people that were there, either just watching or the people lifting the heaviest stuff I've ever seen lifted, it was outstanding. It really was.
Cool. Was that your first time going to the headquarters itself?
Yes, sir. First time.
Now, how was the presentation? How did you? Obviously, you're no stranger to public speaking, but obviously, you're like a kid in a candy shop with just being there to cap it all off with having the opportunity to present. What was that experience like?
It was kind of surreal because Summer Strong is a big deal. Bert, now he's running it, after his father had passed away, and his dad did so much great work. And he's the GOAT, man. It was such an honor because that was the first time they had done that in a couple of years. It was, Bert gave me a hug on the way out, so I know he didn't completely hate it, which was great.
Come on, man.
I thought it went really well. There were a lot of questions that were asked, but I wanted to make sure that I did my very best job for Bert because I felt like I was representing him, and I just wanted to do a great job for him. And I think it went well. But what an experience! I'm standing up there like, wow, it's like a kid going to Disney for the first time.
Right. Come on, man. So what did you present on? Movement or leadership or what'd you do? What'd you present on?
How to maximize your role as an assistant strength coach.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's way different, a different angle coming from a head guy, obviously. So did that seem well received? Because when I went last year, obviously you have a lot of just so many different strength and conditioning professionals under one roof. So, and a lot of those being assistants. So how was it giving that speech as the head guy? Of course, you've put your time in and everything, but how was that giving that presentation? And then what made you speak from that angle as opposed to just, this is what you do as a head guy?
Yeah, well, I thought that the best way I can contribute to the community is, talking to the assistants. And the way football is now, you have just football only strength coaches, and they don't get the opportunity that not all of them, but a lot of them, they miss out on hey, I was at UNLV, so I had softball, baseball. Softball, I had Lonnie Alameda, who's the head coach at Florida State right now. And then at FIU, his softball was Beth Tarina. She's now at LSU. I had those people to work for.
That's awesome.
And then I had baseball at both spots. Buddy Goldsmith at UNLV, Turtle Thomas and he was at Miami for years and then at LSU for years. And then I had to work for him, and he was tough. But he had a plan. It was great. And I got such great high pressure experience. I don't think that this generation gets that. So I think that they can be a little bit lost as to how do I progress, in order to become a head football strength coach. Like, what does that look like? How do I develop? What are things that, is a head person looking for? And the thing that they don't get unless they get those Olympic sports is, what's my boss going through? Now, football is its own biggest animal. There's nothing like it.
Right.
But if you have a smaller sport, you can kind of be like, all right, I understand why my boss is doing this, and this. I understand that, you have to answer to a head coach. You have to talk to trainers. You got to talk to doctors, maybe some physical therapists. Some kid may be having a great day or a poor day. It might be a little, well, hey, we got a meeting in 10 minutes. Well, I've got a kid in here that I've got to talk to that, may have lost somebody in their life, or, somebody may have passed away, or academically they might be in trouble, or they might have hit 4 home runs and be like, Coach, I gotta calm down. My phone's blowing up. Like you'll hear a variety of things, but unless they get that experience personally, they've got to be coached up on it. Because every assistant that was at Summer Strong, that's the next generation of strength coaches. And if you're going to give back to the sport, and if you're going to help those people, help the future children, because all the 4 and 5-year-olds right now, they're all going to be in college.
That's
and
right.
There are many strength coaches that are going to be gone and retired and whatnot. And you just want to make sure that, you can do your best to give back to them so that they can mentor the next generation of kids.
Come on, man. How about that perspective? Bringing it, baby. I love that.
Yep.
Coach, this has been a lot of fun. I do want to finish with this before we get you out of here. You make pasta, and for those that have never had it, it's the greatest pasta on earth. The greatest on earth. I'll say it loud and proud. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And you send me these pictures. I ask when you're delivering, and it's Thursday, and I still don't have any yet, but I'm assuming it's coming. Where did that come from? I think you do it to kind of calm yourself down from time to time, but it's also a fantastic hobby. We're going to throw some pictures kind of over this while you're talking. But where did all that come from, man?
Well, I'm half Irish and half Italian, and I grew up mainly around my Italian grandparents, and I always knew that my grandmother cooked an awful lot for a long, long time, and then, got into coaching, and then it finally turned into we were in Muncie, Indiana, Ball State. And I'm like, you know what? I've got to start making some food here. So just started making macaroni back then and been cranking it out ever since. And then some players got wind of it over the years. And then I found myself working for them. And of course, making some dinners for them. And now it comes at a premium. It's a big request these days.
That's right. Of course it is. So is there like an order slip just constantly rolling? Do you give it away? Like, how do you handle it? Because again, it's very good. I don't want anybody to get confused here. It's unbelievable. But it also probably has to be a pretty big reward. You can't just give 130 guys pasta every day. What does that look like? How do you moderate there?
No, the seniors get taken care of first, and it's Their names go up on the whiteboard. It's a whiteboard list, and I'll write the names. They're not writing their names because they're going to write their names a few different ways or a few different times. They'll pose as somebody else. I've had that before. That ain't happening.
You've got fraud. You've got pasta fraud happening in the locker room. What are we doing?
I got to figure out how to say fraud in Italian, and that's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, man, you're the best. I can't wait to see you soon. Thank you so much for talking with us and always taking care of us. You're one of the absolute best, brother. It's great to talk with you.
We appreciate you.
I'm still lucky to be on this show. I appreciate you guys more than I can tell you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.